Hello, I'm Brendan Donnelly. I'm the leader of the Rejoin EU party, and I want to talk today about the activities that we as a party intend to undertake in 2024. But before I do so, perhaps it's worth reflecting for a moment on where we find ourselves at the end of 2023. Over the past 10 days, we've been privileged, if we can call it that, to witness a Christmas pantomime based on Brexit, which the Conservative government has staged for our edification. You may remember that over the past 18 months, the Conservative government has been conducting a consultation on the question of metrication and imperial measurements, the use of pounds, feet, and yards. And shamefacedly, just before Christmas, the government had to admit that it had received absolutely no support from British business for the idea that there should be encouragement for a further use of imperial measurements. 98% of business people consulted were perfectly happy with the present situation. That, of course, was entirely predictable. Useless change for no benefit is the last thing that business people want. They want stability, and particularly they want to be able to sell their goods in a standard of measurement, the metric measurements, which are familiar to the great majority of their customers these days. But unfortunately, from the point of view of the Brexiters, imperial measurements do have a particularly fond place in the heart of Brexit theology. It was supposed to be a particularly onerous imposition dreamt up by the bureaucrats in Brussels, imposed on freeborn British men and women, that they had to use metric calculations in commerce. So the highly paid publicity consultants of the Conservative Party were set to rub their Aladdin's lamp and come up with something that would be a lump of sugar, if you like, for the Brexit donkeys. And what they came up with was the extremely unlikely, indeed bizarre proposal of pint-sized white wine bottles, and particularly champagne bottles. Now, there's absolutely no rationale for this behaviour, apart from the fact that Winston Churchill may or may not have liked to drink champagne in pint-sized bottles. There's no economic demand for it. There's nobody who it seems likely will be willing to undertake the extra expense to put into place the new bottling processes necessary for pints of champagne. It's an empty gesture that probably will lead to nothing. It's a non-story, it's a non-event. And yet, in some ways, it symbolizes very well what Brexit is all about. It's about empty rhetoric. It's about an absurd elevation of symbols over reality. It's been widely commented on in the European press and cited quite rightly as an example of the absurdity which Brexit can lead. There's even been an awareness in this country of the absurdity. But this is the way that Brexit ends, not with a bang, but a whimper. Something which is exposed to such ridicule as this proposal has been over the past few weeks is a project which is in lethal trouble. And I think the development of British public opinion over the past 5 years, and particularly over the past year, this year, 2023, has given sustenance to that analysis. After 2019, when the general election was won on the dishonest proposal that Brexit was going to be done and over with, people were prepared, I think, to give a certain measure of indulgence to Brexit. Perhaps there would be teething troubles, perhaps things would come right in the medium term. But as time went on, people became more and more to realise that there were no benefits from Brexit.
In retrospect, maybe we should have stayed in.
No other place in the UK voted as overwhelmingly for Brexit as this one, 76%. And it's just been voted the unhappiest town in England. 6 years after that vote, when you voted to leave, would you do the same or not?
Well, I don't think it would make any difference. I don't think it's made a lot of difference, tell you the truth. I don't, no.
So you might vote to stay now?
Well, I think we would.
And on the contrary, for exporters, for freedom of movement, for travelling, there were real problems arising from Brexit. And I think 2023 marked a turning point in this. Before 2023, many people believed that even if Brexit wasn't going well, the right people, competent people, not this government, but another government, might be able to make Brexit work in the national interest. I think that view has gone entirely. I think that there are very few people who have a view of Brexit which is other than a resigned one.
Brexit has failed.
An acquiescent one. Of course, there are some who still believe in Brexit, either on grounds of sovereignty or on grounds of supposed long-term economic benefits. But the opinion polls make it clear that in spite of the silence, the acquiescence of the main political parties on this subject, Brexit is becoming more and more unpopular with the electorate as a whole. Now, I don't think that in 2023, the electorate have yet arrived at the position of saying, this is what we can and should do about Brexit in order to reverse it. But the direction of travel seems to me to be very clear. In 2024, I confidently expect that there will be more people saying publicly and privately that Brexit is not just an avoidable disaster for the country, it's one that can and must be reversed. And that's where the Rejoin EU party comes in. We're not prepared to sit on our hands while we see the Brexit disaster unfold in a way that we think is wholly avoidable, if there were just leadership and courage from our political elite. We're a small political party which was set up by people of different political backgrounds. My personal background is in the Conservative Party, others have backgrounds in the Labour Party, Green Party, no political party. But we have one common goal, which is the reversal of Brexit. No ifs and buts. We think that the damage done to the country can only be reversed when Brexit itself is reversed. We don't greatly care how that comes about, whether it comes about through joining the single market first, or by an immediate referendum, or by a manifesto commitment. That's something that can be unfolded as time goes on. All that's important is that we should be there offering the British people a political choice for rejoining the European Union. We'll be standing in a number of constituencies in the general election next year. At one stage, we did have some hesitations about this because we were afraid that it might split the anti-Conservative vote, the anti-pro-Brexit vote. But now it seems entirely clear that the Labour Party are going to win in any event. The likelihood that we're going to be able to prevent them from winning the next election is minimal. But what we can do is, we hope, prove to other parties, to mainstream parties, to the Labour Party, the Liberal Democrats, and even perhaps to the Conservative Party, that there are votes to be won through being pro-EU. And perhaps, as importantly, there might be votes to be lost from being anti-EU. We understand that we're engaged on a long march. In some ways, we're carrying out a political project which is parallel to that of UKIP in the earlier part of this century. We want to persuade other parties that they should take our issue, which is to rejoin the European Union, much more seriously than they have done up till now. We think that we're on the right side of history, and we think that the opinion polls and the development of public opinion in this country shows us that we're on the right track. We have a website, of course, and there is information available about the work of our party. We are, if you like, a one-issue party, but what an issue it is. It's an issue which leaves no area, or very few areas, of British politics untouched. Transport, higher education, trade, consumer standards, international trade. We also think that Brexit has poisoned the political culture of this country, making dishonesty and opportunism and self-seeking politicking of the wrong kind the norm in our country. We want to reverse that. I hope that those of you who are sympathetic to this project will go to our website and perhaps put yourselves on our mailing list. We might even be interested in standing for a candidate in next year's general election. We'll welcome any inquiries, and we're always at your disposal to answer further questions about the policies and ideas of our party. Whatever happens in 2024, I hope that whatever your political affiliations, whatever your political activities, it will be a happy, prosperous and healthy time for you. Best wishes to you all.